Greetings, coach. Welcome to Planet Pluto. Here on Planet Pluto, we focus on evolution and power. I hope you can learn about these factors and reflect with them on your coaching practice.
Worthwhile.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so,
right.
So where are you taking me on this?
I'm taking you to Planet Pluto, if that's all right. I haven't edited this one, but it's on evolution and power.
Wow.
So we don't need to actually have this on for the. Well, I can leave it on if you want, and then you can.
Yeah.
It, but I've got some questions, so it's just I'll try and introduce myself. So I'm
okay.
Tom Walton. I'm third year at UConn. I'm with Cliff Olson, and he's a lecturer at UConn as well. So I guess the first question I'll just bring to you. We'll focus on evolution first. Is how do you feel a coach can evolve? It's quite a broad question, but how do you think?
How a coach can evolve? I think there's a misnomer in coaching, and often promoted by national governing bodies, that the way that you become a coach is simply by enrolling yourself on a coach education course, coach training course.
Yeah.
And they in effect legitimize their coaching qualifications by providing demonstrations, by providing the candidate with knowledge. And as long as they follow the demonstrations, copy the demonstrations, and reproduce the knowledge in the format that's being presented to them on the coach education course, they get a certificate, and off you go, there you're a coach.
Yeah. My
view of coaching practice, is that you don't really learn how to coach until you go out and coach.
Yeah.
And until you're exposed to experiences and building relationships with groups of people, whether they're adults, whether they're children, whether they're boys, whether they're girls, whether they're under 16s or under 5s, unless you sort of experience building relationships with people and communicating with people effectively in an environment, in a sports coaching environment, I think it's very, very difficult to make anyone a coach. Hence, our degree in sports coaching is actually a degree in studying sports coaching rather than making people sports coaches. And I know students get frustrated because they come on the course and they think we're going to make them a coach. We ain't. We can't. It's impossible. We can give them the tools to understand the coaching process, but ultimately they have to go out, practice, experiment, try things themselves. And we provide some opportunities, like in the practicals, to coach each other and experiment and take risks. But ultimately, you know, people have to go out. It's like I don't know, if I want to learn how to bake a cake, I couldn't just learn to bake a cake by reading a book.
No.
I have to learn to bake a cake and try it and burn it and make a mess. And does that answer you sort of?
I totally agree. And I think, like you say with the baking the cake, I think it's similar with maybe like driving a car. You learn to pass your test. But then you go on and then you start learning how to drive a car.
And you learn, certainly driving a car and test, you learn the procedural knowledge, as in like what the gears, how the indicators and the brake and all that. I think coaching is even more than that. I think it's understanding relationships and understanding people and being able to differentiate. You might have a group of under 12s, but they're not all the same. Big ones, small ones, quiet ones, boisterous ones, really bright, intelligent ones, hard working, and you have to sort of build these group dynamics, but also individuals as well. And you can't learn that from a textbook. I mean, people like myself and John have done PhDs in sports coaching. Doesn't make us class sports coaches. Just because I'm a Dr. Cliff doesn't make me. Because if I was, I would do Pep Guardiola's job and earn 300 times more than I'm earning now. But I understand the processes. I understand because I've studied sports coaching, which is different from sports coaching.
No, I think they're very good points to make. We'll head on to the next question. I think you answered that fabulously. So I guess with staying on top of evolution outside of sport, can a coach evolve? And I know we've spoken about an analogy of a driving test, but that's almost like just an analogy. Can a coach evolve outside of sport?
As a coach?
Yeah, so as a coach.
Definitely. Yeah. If you're a social human being, you will evolve as a social human being. I've evolved because of my family, because of my wife, because I've got 2 daughters. I have an extended family. I have elderly parents. These are all experiences which you draw upon in your coaching practice. You know, I had a younger brother. I didn't live with girls apart from my mum.
Yeah.
So I've got a sort of bit more of a unique insight into the world of, girls and, how they see sport. My youngest daughter's very good at netball. She plays football. You know, my wife not really interested in sport. You know, so you get that insight. You know, because believe it or not, Tom, most people don't like sport.
No.
And sometimes you've got to acknowledge that. So building relationships with people who are not into sport, interested in sport, is a different skill set.
Well, I was listening to when Frank Lampard was still at Chelsea. Well, it was only a couple of months ago, but he said that he came home to his wife, and his wife was able to give him some advice on managing the players, even though she was not directly involved with the football club.
Absolutely.
And that's just learning from outside of the sport.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That happens all the time. All the time. You know.
Awesome. Brilliant. Right, we'll head on to the power side of the this planet. So obviously Pluto represents power. So with power, what sense of power do you think a coach needs to have, or does have, when they're coaching?
Well, power comes in different forms. It comes in physical power. I'm bigger than you.
Yeah.
If I'm working with kids, I've got a louder voice than you.
Yeah.
Power comes in social status. I'm Dr. Cliff Olson. You are an undergraduate. Yeah. Don't you question what I say.
Yeah.
I'm so far better qualified than you.
Yeah.
Power can come in like the institution of UCLan gives me power and authority over your degree and your mark. I might not give you a good mark if I don't like you.
Yeah.
We obviously UCLan tries to, or universities quite rightly so, work against that because we've got quality assurance systems.
Yeah.
To ensure that can't happen, but there's still that power relationship between a lecturer and a student.
Yeah.
Whether that's real or perceived doesn't really matter. There does appear to be a power relationship there. As a coach, the reason why I've been appointed is because I know loads of stuff about you becoming better. So as long as you listen to me, you're going to become a better player. We're going to become a better club. So they become what we might call gatekeepers, Tom, of knowledge. And they'll share the knowledge with you when they want to.
Yeah.
And that keeps them in power.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you had all the knowledge and know-how about developing yourself as a footballer, you wouldn't need me. And I would be out of a job, out of a role. Yeah. So often it's in the interest of the coach to only share power when it suits the coach. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you touched on a good point there, where like you say, that they only want to share it when they do have the power.
Yeah.
It's a weird topic, I think, power, because like you say, it comes in lots of different forms. And I think it's hard to distinguish what is the right type of power or the type of power.
But more importantly, Tom, how to use it effectively.
Yeah.
Because there will be times as a coach or even as a teacher when you want to empower a student. Mm-hmm. but there'll also be times when you need to lead the student, to tell the student, or tell the player. And sometimes the student and the player, whichever way you see it, is actually looking for that leadership. They're expecting you, because of your position and power of authority, to be able to tell them what to do. You know, as a first year, and I've said this on numerous occasions, students are often really disappointed with staff when we don't tell them the answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when a student says, "Is this right, Cliff?" And I go, "I don't know, Tom. What do you think?" Mm-hmm. You must have had that and must be frustrated.
Yeah, I think I had that with Matt many times. I was asking him a question. He'd always say, "We're going to respond with a question or another question for you."
Yeah, and sometimes students expect, because you're in a position of power and authority and knowledge, you know, well, that's your job. Tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's a journey for students to go from, as a first year like that, into where you are now, where you are like thinking creatively and think, I know how I'll represent this. I'll use the planets and the sun and the earth. And that's that's music to us, because now you're taking ownership of your own personal development.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you could have done this after 3 months at UCLan. Because you wouldn't have had the confidence or the skills to sort of generate these ideas and have confidence in these ideas.
Yeah. And I guess that comes from me being at uni, me being with all the lecturers like you, me experiencing my own coaching and then taking that all on board.
It's an unrealistic journey to expect an 18-year-old to jump from having been institutionalised, where power and authority is in the hands of the teachers, to come to uni, where we are slowly, gently giving you more power and authority and support till when you come to the final year, when you're doing a piece of research and it's virtually 100% independent.
Yeah.
You generate the question, you generate the answers.
Definitely. And I think with the whole, as we've been in this pandemic, I think I was chatting with a couple of tutors and they said, look, even though you're going to miss out on your final year, you were going to be by yourself anyway for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's not that much different. I mean, I've done my dissertation, which has been all my work by myself. Obviously, I've had some chats with lecturers. This planet idea, this is all by myself, and I haven't had a lot of actual lesson time, and I wouldn't have anyway, if that makes sense.
No, it's that's what makes you a graduate.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what makes you a graduate, Tom. Isn't how much knowledge you have. It's not about self-determination theory or impression management. That's missing the point, really. Those are the vehicles to help you become more creative, more innovative, more independent, more critical in your thinking. Yeah. That's what a graduate is.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I saw something on LinkedIn. I don't know when I think someone shared it, and it was about a sports coach telling their 10-year-olds that they only perform the skills when the coach is telling them to do it. Yeah. When they go away, they then stop doing the skills, and I said to them, "Then you need to be doing this when we're there and when we're not there."
Yeah,
I think that applies the same to my uni journey in a sense that
what you do with us in terms of content knowledge is quite minimal.
Yeah.
You know, in the third year, it's having that innovative, creative, independent mind to have confidence in what you're doing. You've explained this model to me and the rationale. And it makes sense. I think that's brilliant. Nobody's told you to do this.
No.
You know what I mean? You were lying in bed one day and go, wow.
Yeah.
And I've gone, you've explained it to me. I go, that makes absolutely perfect sense to me. So, hope that helps answer that question.
Yeah. No, that definitely does. And then I think we might have answered the last question on power, but I'll read out anyway. The question itself was, do you think that power can affect the mindset of a coach? I think we've already kind of touched on a lot of it, but I think it can. I think power can affect, but like you say, it's how you use it effectively.
It's how you apply the power, It's a power and empowering people. You know?
Yeah.
as you go through the years, we empower you more and more and more, you know. And certainly from second year onwards, you know, it's more and more opportunities for you to try things. For example, do you remember, were you in the class, I think it was your class, I did a tying knots practice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I think it was... Go on.
That's a moment where I'm saying to people,
yeah,
you can all tie these knots now, and I'm not showing you one knot.
No, yeah.
You know, so it's a bit of a sort of a watershed, and I do it around that time of year because what I'm trying to get people to understand that with the range of technologies and the range of peers around you, people around you, you can learn without formal institutions and formal people in front of you telling you what to do. You've got the capacity to develop and learn and practice and even compete.
I think at the time, I thought, what the hell's going on here? But I think I've almost like realised, like you say, it was about empowering the students and letting them get on with the idea of tying the knots.
You know, and some students will still look back on that and go, what the hell has tying knots got to do with sports coaching? Do you know what I mean? They'll go, what was the point of that? Because they won't see the connection. The source, like the ingredients, which was knot making or self-determined, that's just a vehicle. That's just a way to educate people, you know. But it's not the important bit, actually, because you're right. You know, if I tell people, so if somebody comes to me, so what's on your sports coaching degree program? Well, we teach people how to tie knots. You go, he's mad. Tying knots on a sports coaching program. But they're missing the point, aren't they, Tom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think it all came back from when I had my first lesson at UConn. I was with Matt. I think it was something to do with it. It was throwing ping pongs into one of the beer cups. I thought, what am I doing here? And like, what program have I got myself on for? Now, when I look back at it all and all the lessons I've had, it does make sense of why we did all this stuff.
And it does take 3 years sometimes to join the dots. You know, ping pong balls, tying knots. You know, going away for a couple of nights, wherever it is, blah 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 blah. Yeah. It's, you know, you might not see it because you're relatively inexperienced. You know, you've been institutionalized through an education system that basically tells you what to do, where to go, how to behave, what to think.
Yeah. And
now you come to uni where we're actually trying to, in some ways, undo all that.
Yeah. I think, it's been a good 3 years for me, definitely. It's
good.
Yeah. Evolution. On planet Pluto, they focus on evolution. As Cruikshank and Collins in 2015 said, that coaching is deemed more to be shades of grey than opposed to black and white. The pedagogical, social and political elements of coaching need to be understood. This idea of scaffolding comes into place. Everything takes place at a different time, and it's about growing from potentially, like we are with humans, from monkeys all the way up to human beings, that we grow on a scale that is gradual over time. Abraham and Collins in 2011 came up with this idea of a different type of framework for coaching. So they've got long term, the macro level, they've got the medium term, the meso level, and the short term, the micro levels. Now as a coach, as you evolve, you might be more accustomed to using these levels. As a coach starting off, you might just think coaching sessions, just one session, once a week, and then that repeats every week. However, as you evolve as coaching, we understand that you start off with a big macro level. That's one big goal. Then these are broken down into meso levels that might be termly, and then ultimately your training sessions are short term. So it's not just now focusing on that one session per week. It's looking at a big macro level and breaking it down into individual sessions to form the main idea of the macro level. And this next part, power, leads on from evolution. because with power, that can be evolved. With coaches, it comes with experience and trial and error, where you gain more power. It comes with connections that you build. And French and Raven in 1959, so quite a while ago, they came up with the idea that people with power look to draw from numerous different situations. These are this is reward, legitimate, referent, expert, and co-receive power. So the referent power is how well the student connects with the coach. The co-receive power is student will be punished if they fail to follow rules. Reward is the positive feedback, praising the athlete. Legitimate is the ability to make specific demands. And the expert power is the amount of success or the understanding. And this power, so it's not just a case of someone's in charge and they're telling the students or athletes what to do. There's lots of different elements of power. And once you break it down, you really actually realise the different power that a coach has. Whether that's just giving them feedback, that they have the power of sense that I'm right, and giving them the feedback is that saying that I'm right and this is what you need to be doing. Or it might be the referent power, where the student connects with the coach, and in that sense there's a good sense of power in that connection. So what to take away from the audio footage on planet Pluto? Well, first of all, there was this idea about declarative and procedural knowledge, and that students, especially in the sporting coaching context, that coaches come into this idea with declarative knowledge. They know that, and you know that putting cones down or doing a certain drill will be effective. But essentially, especially with this course being a 3-year course and how you develop over those 3 years, students and coaches learn the more procedural knowledge and know how. So instead of just putting down the cones and knowing that's the drill to do, they didn't know how to do it. And this allows them to have a clearer mind, that they're allowed to speak with their athlete and explain to them why they're doing a certain drill, and they know how to do it. Similar to the idea of baking a cake. You got good chefs that know how to make a cake. They potentially won't look at the recipe and they'll just know what ingredients to put in. But potentially rookie chefs, just your day-to-day people, they'll just look at a recipe book and try and follow that recipe, and essentially that might not be the best outcome because they're just following it. And similar to the coaching context, where if you just follow a drill, it might not always be the best. So it's knowing how. That is what essentially this coaching course, 3-year course, does. It understands coaches and makes them understand how to coach. And following on from this idea of declarative and procedural knowledge, there's this idea about the building relationships, and actually that you're in this coaching environment to build relationships, and that's what makes you an expert. When you build loads of relationships, you can get lots of more information, and that's what makes you that expert in that particular field. Studying sports coaching, for example, that's an idea about building relationships. It's not just about getting that degree and then you're a coach. It's about that journey of how you develop your skills over the 3 years. You're given the tools, your trial and error, the practicals that I have a go in my lessons, where I can deliver my coaching ideas, my interesting ideas, creative ideas. These are all what allow me to be that effective coach. Similar to the idea about declarative and procedural knowledge about baking a cake, it's learning you how to do it. If you were just given it one time, your first time, it might be terrible, but given it 10 times, 20 times, you might eventually get there and make a good cake. Similar to the idea about the studied versus doing sports coaching. It's not just getting that certificate at the end of the 3 years, it's about studying the sports coaching and understanding the different models, the different theories throughout the 3 years. And then lastly, just about this idea about evolution and about the social human beings. So actually we were talking about on the podcast or the video footage about coaches actually are social human beings, and they can draw upon social contact for their coaching experience. So Cliff mentioned about he was growing up in the world of females, and he's got this much more better idea about coaching girls as opposed to if he was to grow up with just male role models. And most people don't actually like sport, so it's actually quite interesting to speak to different people, get that social contact about people that don't like sport, and maybe that plays a part in how you can build some coaching ideas for people that aren't as passionate about sport as the coach is. And it's an unrealistic journey for students, especially my age, to go straight from having power in the teacher's hands to going straight into the coaching world. So the coaching university course that I'm on, it allows me to get power gradually into my hands, taken away from the teachers, and at the end of it, as I've published with my dissertation, I've had a lot of power to do my own work from my dissertation, and I've all that authority to build that piece of work. So it is about that journey of building your skills, of getting that power into your hands, and it's not just a click of the fingers that happens overnight. It does happen over several years, even decades.